Well, I wasn't expecting to be back on a video so soon. I thought when I had done the last video series of changing out the fuel pump that I would have been done with T-Max Fever. But this last weekend I was out on a beautiful ride, got about 140 miles in. It was getting warm in the late afternoon. I pulled into Yakima, stopped at a Fred Meyer for gasoline, filled up. No indication that. We're running perfect all day long with multiple starts and stops in warmer weather, warmer to hot weather. And filled up, climbed back on, put my gloves on, hit the switch and the brakes and the start button. I thought, son of a... And then it only got worse from there. And I know now that, well, it's not going to happen again. I'm either going to fix it or I'm going to sell this damn thing. Midnight tow later, and it fired up the next morning, but coming back it acted up again. It's got some other kind of problem in it too. Thermostat, I think, is bad. It's not letting it get up to engine temperature, which is affecting the control module as to how it's fueling the engine. And so I'm going to do that. So I thought that when I had this thing down into this position, I could get to the thermostat. No. Let me reset it. And when I got everything off and I looked at the thermostat and I could see where it's at, it's back under here. It's right about in there. So I got to look at the manual, and guess what I have to pull? I have to pull the fuel tank. So that means everything aft that I took off to change out the pump to get into up here, and I've got to even go more. I've got to take the fuel tank out in order to get down into this thing. So I'm not going to show you any of that. We'll come back when I get all of this off. And I'm also debating whether or not to change out the whole fuel pump module. It's going to be about $264 for a whole new assembly. And the part numbers for my old parts book has changed. It has a new part number now. It's a 500 number. Or it begins with a 5, and it's the same one that they're using on the 530 or the 2015 530s. So if I do that, then it's because I think it may be the pressure relief valve and not the motor. It's the pump motor itself. Some very early posts on the T-Max section of MajestyUSA.com. One Yamaha mechanic had determined that it, on his bike anyway, it was the pressure relief valve and not the pump. But several people around the world have changed out the pumps and their T-Max Fever went away. So that led me to just changing out the motor as opposed to changing over the whole assembly the last time I had this apart. But since I have to get everything off anyway to change the thermostat, and I'm changing the thermostat because it won't stay up to temperature. If I get, like when I came home, I came over cold rainy, about 150 mile rain soaked ride home over a mountain pass, and it never did come up to proper operating temperature. So it was always like a quarter of an inch below the halfway mark. So that's usually an indication that the thermostat is sticking open, which will again confuse the control module as to what the fuel ratio should be, because I really sucked up the gas on that one. I almost didn't have enough money or enough gasoline to make it home. So let me begin all this ranting, and well, I could rant and rave. You'd think if Yamaha customer service was worth a shit, they would have some information for us about what this is, whether it was the motor or whether it was the pressure relief valve. But mum's on the word from them because they don't want to be out, I guess, a lawsuit, class action lawsuit on a massive recall. So if it doesn't exist, They just have to, well, if they don't think it exists, it doesn't exist. So let me get the panels off and we'll come back. Okay, and then this one, this video will mainly be on flushing the radiator. And we'll do that too at the same time. And I also found that the air screws were off. Number one was only a half turn from closed, and number two was a turn and a half from being closed. So I've got to open those up, balance them out again when I use the Morgan Cartoon to sync up the fuel throttle bodies again. So we'll come back. And I thought I'd give you an update. Just got the, in order to take this off, you got to take off the tailpiece. It made it a little harder because I had that shad rack on the back. But it's going quicker, but still, these things, I can see why a Yamaha mechanic would run and screaming the other direction in the shop if he saw a T-Max coming up on his list to do. I mean, I've done this a lot, so it's not a first timer for me, so it takes the time, you know. And then my first Big Wheels Touring's first motto was put all the screws that came off of a part in a bag and then feed it through a hole so you know exactly where it went. Well, we've never been down this deep into the basement of a T-Max before. At least I've never been down here. We got down to where we could take out the fuel pump assembly to change out the pump. But the only thing you have to do on this one, because you've already removed this in order to get the thing out, and we've already taken off the seat release mechanism, which I always wonder if it'll go back into the correct alignment, but I didn't seem to have a problem last time. And just 4 bolts, I'm assuming. To get this guy off. Yep, and there we go. Let go of my ego. Ah, there we go. I never see. This is the starter. My God, you've got to do a lot of work on this thing to get to anything. Holy moly, who designed this? Jesus, what a pain in the ass. Oh well. And now, let's get back over here again. You can see the thermostat is available now, so let me go ahead and get that taken out. We'll do a little close-up here now. Like I said before, that's the starter, and it's held down by 2 screws here, and I believe it just slides in, and there's a bushing right in here that holds this end in place. And then over here, this is the chain tensioner on the valves, and this is I guess a bleeding line because for the water, because it goes back into the water, the main manifold down here going to the water pump. And then here we've got the thermostat, and then this little guy down here in the dark is the thermo sensor. And they say you got to be really careful on this. If you drop it, throw it away and buy a new one because it's really sensitive. So I got to be careful when I take that out to check it. That's another one of those temperature checks with resistance. Another water line. I think that one goes to the, yeah, this line here. There we go. Steady in here. This line here goes to the what the hell they call that thing? Cold start thermal switch. It hangs on the side of the throttle body and squirts in extra fuel when it's cold, and then when it warms up, it blocks it off. And then this hose right here coming out of the top of the thermostat. This one right back in here is the comes out of the top of the thermostat and goes up to the pressure cap, and is supposedly the air bleed line. So if you get air in the system, it'll come up here and then go on out up into the system and bleed out up by the pressure cap. So let me go ahead and we'll drain everything. But like I said earlier, I mean, you got to pull everything off just to get down where, and all of this comes out in here. All the radiator and fan and everything comes out from underneath. In order, and I believe you take out some of the airbox stuff in order to be able to get screws and wrenches and stuff in to take the valve cover off. What a pain in the butt. I was curious about something when I took off the fuel line off the top of the tank and then drained the hose so I didn't get it all over the floor. I put it in this little cup, and so I stuck my finger in and was feeling between my fingers. It's like, God, it feels almost like chainsaw mix gas, oily. So then I went and poured out some fresh gas that I know I had in my lawnmower can, and I can feel the difference. I may have gotten, besides the heat, I may have gotten some bad gas, so I got to flush that tank. And well, let's start with what we was originally going to start out with on this thing, was changing the fluid. We'll use the, I'll go to the thermostat separately, but first you want to pull off the pressure cap, which if you're just doing this comes in behind the, you just take off, let's see what it'd be, the plate, 2 screws here, 3 pins, and the tuning fork panel comes off, and the plug on the other side should be low enough that you can drain your radiator without having to take off the crowling or any of that other stuff. So let me set up on the other side and show you the little hole we got to take out, or the little plug. Okay, on the on your left side, your left hand down here, you'll see this little plug. We got to pull that, and there should be about a half a gallon maybe in there, so make sure you have a container that's big enough. This is a gallon container, so let me go ahead and reset up the so I can get that plug out. It's in tight, so take your time and make sure you seat the bit of the screwdriver blade fully into the opening here to, okay, it's starting to ease up now, and drill. Oh, there we go. You can hear it draining out the other side. Okay, we'll let this drain down. So much for trying to be neat. When it slowed down, it started trickling along the bottom of the radiator onto the floor. These things, Yamaha hates me.